Hello, my name is Dominic Underhallhouse and welcome to another episode of Moonbreaker. In this episode, we're going to be looking at the list that is so far the one I've had the most success with since the new patch has come out. I don't think the list is going to continue this way, but so far I've played about, I think, 10 games or so, and it's currently undefeated. So I've not actually lost a single game with this list yet. I'm hoping to keep that streak going and seeing if we can, test it out. I know I've had a couple of people in the Discord try this list out. They didn't quite have the same success that I did, but I'm hoping that I can continue at least my streak regardless of that. So, here is the list that we've been running, and you may notice something pretty quickly is that there's a lot of small numbers here. This is one of the cheapest lists you can possibly put together, and we're running all three of the one drops that we've got access to, running Rickety Backfire, Blindsider Eztli, Deadeye, and Taria Arsenal, all really aggressive 2-drops, and the only thing we're running bigger than that is Amplifier Bitol. So the reason Amplifier Bitol's in the list is it's basically two or three reasons. You might think it's just for finishing people off quicker, but in reality, the list does that in itself. It's quite aggressive by nature. We don't need that little push over the edge most of the time. What it is there for is if we get a game where we've got escape hatch and we can just put down Bitol for free, that's a huge boost in damage with no additional cost to it. And the other side of things is for games where we come against heavily armoured units, because looking at our models as sort of standard, Antios doesn't deal anything. Tlalli barely does anything. Eztli only does a bit less. Everything's just reduced by so much by the armour. But also, because we've got both Taria Arsenal and Drumdancer Tlalli, often they're actually reduced twice. So, Maximus as well, in fact. So, armor's really, really good against this list, so we just needed a way of pushing through. I've come against it a few times, and it has worked out how we wanted to. Hopefully, it will carry on throughout this. So, I want to hear what you guys think about the list, if you guys can give it a try, and we're going to be playing Hyper-Aggro Astra. So, as we jump into a game, there's a couple of different things that we can do early on in the game, but the one thing that doesn't change very often is that we're going to be playing a turn 1 Cinder Orb, and this is almost every single game. So we're going to be making aggressive movements with Astra. We're going to be trying to get an early shot in where we can, try and just chip an extra damage point away, but every single turn 1, for an aggro deck, we're going to play a ramp spell basically. So this does two different things. One is it kind of throws opponents off their game a little bit. A lot of the time, if someone sees an Astra and they just say, oh, they're Cinder, it's not quite come to sort of the collective understanding that it might be an aggro start. Most people see Cinder, they think it's going to be slow, and they probably play accordingly. So I've had people play no defensive unit against me, no 2-drop, and try and save up something bigger. And that's just not the case with Astra. Because it's such an aggressive list, we can throw out plenty of units early on. And so that's the other part of this, is that what we're going to be looking to do is put down 2 or 3 units on turn 2 every single game. So one of the better combinations for trying to take someone down early if they make an aggressive movement and don't play an early unit is we can play Blindsider Eztli, Drumdancer Tlalli, and then something like Maximus, which the following turn leaves us with 3 Cinder. We've just got the ability to play something else, activate an ability. So we can play our other 1-drop Antios Gauntlet. We can activate Tlalli, get Eztli up to 8 damage that turn, and then potentially be hitting for, what does that work out as? 10, 11, 12, 13 damage on turn 3, because we'd have 8 from Eztli, 2 from Tlalli, 2 from Maximus, and then another 1 from Astra as well. So there's a lot of potential burst in here, and while we do still go for the same logic of trying to take out... Ooh, Plink is good for us. So Corrosive is our best pick, but we're a really aggressive list. So Plink and Escape Hatch actually plays into 2 different things that we want to do. We're not as worried about these. We're just going to go for it. So what we can do here, because we're going first, we can try and get line of sight, but there isn't a good one here. There is only this sort of angle. But what we can also do... So we'll go for the shot. And then we can also grow Cinder just back here. So this pretty much guarantees it's safe. If we'd have hit that, by the way, that was an extra Plink damage that we could have got in as well. So this almost guarantees the Cinder's safe. It's very unlikely they can do anything about it, and we don't mind trading our 1 damage for 2 damage because we're probably more aggressive than they are. So they didn't get it anyway. They're going for the defensive movement. What we can also do here, especially because we have Plink, there you go, there's their Maximus. So if we can find an angle with a good line of sight somewhere, so for instance up here looks pretty reasonable, what we can do is actually just deploy something up here. So given that they've played Maximus, we're going to go for more of a defensive play. We're going to go Taria Arsenal and Deadeye most likely. Although actually, no, because we've got Bitol guaranteed next turn, we are going to still play Taria Arsenal, but then we're actually going to go for the 1-drops as well. So we're going to go our Maximus up here. We're actually going to move up again and see get that 7% shot. See if we can get the 50-50. We did. We need to get a Plink. And then out of these two, I think it's probably just Tlalli that we want to play, just because it's 2 damage without using any additional Cinder. And we're going to play it back here. Let's go here. Again, we want to make it hard for them to hit everything in one go. So what this does mean is that with 3 Cinder next turn and Escape Hatch, we can potentially be getting Amplifier Bitol out, doubling up on a bunch of damage, and then using our Plink to take something out really quickly. So I'm expecting them to deal 2 damage to us here, possibly 4 using Zax, but on the backswing I'm expecting us to deal a lot of damage to them. So they're going for our Maximus, which is reasonable, he's pretty annoying. But depending on where they move, changes what we do. So I don't think they've got much of a route of hiding Zax here. So I think we're actually going to be probably just going to this side, playing aggressively towards them, trying to take them out as quick as possible. And we're going to obviously be bringing down Bitol to get that extra damage in as well. So this could be a mine. If it is, we're okay with it. I think it's quite likely to be a mine, but they have still got 2 Cinder. Yeah, they got the hit on us. The big part is where do they move. So if they move somewhere defensive, that's the right choice for them, but we've got a lot of potential damage coming out here. So because the mine only does 2, we're not really that fussed about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to move up here so that we can get a good angle with Astra. We're going to use our escape hatch because we know what's coming anyway. And we've got a couple of options here as to what to do. So this is pretty much perfectly placed for us. So we can get our hit in here. So obviously Tlalli doesn't have that good of a range here. If it could get in range, we'd absolutely use it, but Tlalli's just going to take this out. And then we're going to use Maximus over here. And because their Maximus in conjunction with Zax can take out anything we've got anyway, we'd need a crit in order to kill him. But I think we might actually just go for that anyway to put them on the defensive. So as long as we stay in range of Bitol. So we'll go for this. If we get a crit, we can Plink. If not, we just run away. And we can still Plink their captain. And then in terms of playing things out here, we're going to play Blindsider Eztli to just block Maximus in place here. And Antios Gauntlet as well. Just over. In fact, let's play him here as well. So we've got no risk of our Maximus being taken out. Oh, we forgot about Taria. Let's take a random pot shot. It hit. That was lucky. I forgot about Taria completely, so that's a bit of a mistake on my part. But you can see here, this is what this list is designed to do. We have 6 units on the battlefield, and we're only going into our turn 4. So they don't really have much of a way of taking these things out. We're obviously 1 unit ahead because of Stowaway. They've got Disruptor. Okay. Unfortunately for them, the Disruptor mostly pushed away our range units and left our melee ones in there, and we have got the ability to Tlalli onto Eztli this turn. The thing to bear in mind as well, one of the reasons that we quite like having Antios Gauntlet is because he's another activated ability, which means we've got multiple ways of getting our Cinder spent early turns. So this is probably, as far as I can figure out, one of the quickest ways to burn someone down in this. Oh, sorry. Moving off there. I was just trying to move my mouse pad and accidentally shifted the whole thing. But looking at this turn, it's very likely that we can get Eztli into range for 8 damage, and then we've just got a few other range units following up. So that's their Eztli there. We could also even just, if we get into range, potentially even just haste Rickety Backfire in as well. So can we get... Okay, so we can't get in range with Bitol for a lot of things. So Bitol can just basically sit back here. Can Taria... Okay, so we're going to just move over here. We're going to hit this because we can. We're going to give Battle Frenzy, I believe. I believe he should still be able to hit. So we're going to Battle Frenzy here. We're going to Inner Energy ourselves here. There we go. So pop in for 8 damage. Pop in for another 4. And there we go. We've taken our opponent out in very rapid pace. Now, thing to bear in mind, this wasn't a particularly fair matchup. They were only level 4, so hopefully we haven't ruined their enjoyment of the game. You know, this isn't something that's going to be a fun list to play against, but this is as competitive as I can make as quick as I can make a list. Not necessarily as competitive. There might be more competitive lists out there, but this one certainly does the job at speed. We also had really good assists there. Corrosive, however, is even better. So Corrosive is actually an even quicker way of getting more damage done, because with Taria, Tlalli, and Maximus, we often have 3 different ways of getting double strikes in a turn. So that could be 6 damage in its own, and then any other just random hits, even Astra, so that's looking at 7, and at one time used to do 7 or 8 damage to a captain, is absolutely mad. It's one of the strongest sort of starts going. Now, what happens if we come against a Maximus and we feel like we need to be defensive? In that situation, we still play our Cinder Orb turn 1, and then we play Taria Arsenal and Deadeye turn 2, and then between them, we're only needing 1 attack from each of them and 2 attacks from Astra to kill Maximus over a couple of turns. It's not ideal, but it does work out fairly well most of the time. And then the turn after that, what I often find myself doing if we're still struggling with a Maximus or he's hidden well, that sort of thing, is place 3 1-drops, because we'll have 3 Cinder left, all around him in a little triangle, and make sure he can't move anywhere whatsoever. So the list actually plays quite well into opposing aggro lists as well, because we can sort of pin things down if we know where we're going. We just need to make sure that we pick the right units at the right time. And so, Exterior is actually one of our harder matchups, because we send a lot of low health units very close to him. And it's not exactly going to work out the best for us if this goes wrong. So here we've got Escape Hatch and Ion Storm. I think this could actually be good versus an Exterior list, because Vortex Beam and Stun, it's also good. Let's try Vortex and Stun. Movement is always useful in these sort of things. That's our opponent's turn. I'm expecting them to play Maximus. Have they got one? No. Okay, so have we got a line of sight onto them? We've got... What would this be? Minus 50, minus 42. Well, I guess we go for the minus 42. What's the percent chance? 2%. Go on. Nope, no milk. And then we're going to place this further up because there's nothing really they can do to stop us taking out next turn. And we do want to be still moving aggressively at this point in the game. We are going to be running away at some point, especially with our Vortex Beam. We're probably using it next turn just to pull Exterior back. So for now, we just want to be moving forwards. So whatever they place here, we're going to be trying to do some damage to, because we're not in a position to take them out yet. So they've got Aria. Okay, well, I've just realised we're against a level 0 player. Also, I love this name, Forever NaCl. I'm pretty sure that's the chemical formula for salt. So Forever Salty is our opponent, which is in itself utterly fantastic of a name. 40%. Ooh, we've got the crit as well. That is actually somewhat brutal. So because we're not going to be as easily getting in range here, we are just going to play Taria Arsenal and Deadeye here. So this is our other early selection. And we're not going to use the Vortex because they've moved far enough away that they can Vortex and bring us out and kill us, but I don't think that's necessarily going to be an issue, and we don't want to give them a reason to hide more than they already have. So we're putting it... Oh, is this... Oh, Corrosive. Okay, they need to find a way to hurt us is the issue. 40% on Astra. I mean, they hit for 4, but that wasn't a corrosive target. So that's pretty awkward. So what we will be doing this turn is pulling them out of position, and then, if they move aggressively with Extilior, we can be even more aggressive. But okay, so with this positioning, Extilior can't move all the way back here. So what we're going to do is we're going to move up. We're going to try and pull Taria out of range here, and then we're going to play Drumdancer Tlalli and Blindsider over here, depending on what else comes out for us. So we're trying to go for ways of getting a lot of damage very quickly on their captain. They played Snarling. Okay, so Snarling's always a threat. This feels like a disruptor? Orbital. We don't intend on being anywhere near there anyway. So we can kill Aria. So the general rule of these things is shoot what you can kill, but we don't want to pull her out to the point that we can't see her. So about here looks right to me. So this doesn't get us line of sight on much. So what we're going to be doing is just starting up here with these two, getting a nice easy couple of high percentage shots off while staying out of range of Extilior. Astra's going to move. We are going to move this way. We can just about get up there, but that's not, so taking this shot isn't worth it over playing the units that we want to play. So what we're going to do is we'll check where this can move. So it's about here. So we're going to play Eztli just over here, and then we're going to play Tlalli just in front of it. The reason for that is we want to basically make it so that there's no route for Snarling to attack through onto Eztli very easily. Because next turn, Eztli has a reasonable chance of actually just one-shotting Snarling or something else they play, or depending on what else they come out with. So this is, again, it's a very low-level player. They're not going to be familiar with the game, and this is probably going to feel very unfair to them. So I apologise to the fantastically named Forever Salty, but this is a really quick way of getting wins. So, okay, interesting. So that's actually a good unit for them to have here, because that we're going to be aggressively attacking into it. If we can get in range, which we can't quite yet, then it would be, something that would be, well, basically, we want to be taking this out if we can, but we can't as it stands at the moment. So they can get in range for one spin onto Tlalli, which is, we positioned that slightly wrong. We should have been slightly further back, but what I think we're going to do here is just go for a really big attack onto Extilior. And the question is, do we defend? So basically, do we stun Tipu, or do we stun Extilior? And I think the answer here is going to be we're going to stun Extilior, and we're just going to go for this. So we're going to Battle Frenzy here. We're going to seize initiative on ourselves. And we're actually just going to go as far over as we can and just get as much... Oh, in fact, before we do this, we need to stun Extilior so we know he's not going anywhere. Because this way, their Snarling isn't even that useful here. So we can get an angle here with Drumdancer. We can get over here with Taria. And lastly, we should be able to get, there we go, just here with Deadeye. And now, this quickly, we've put all this pressure on, and Extilior's down to 4. So that's the end of that game. Again, this is such an aggressive list. We haven't come against any of the counters to us yet, so bear in mind this isn't representative of, every single game. You will come against Beatrices and Shrapnels and things like that who all do very well against it. But so far we've kept up our 100% win ratio with this. And I just really hope that for this game we can come against someone who's got a list that is designed against a more aggressive archetype. So I do think that this isn't necessarily the most fun to play for me personally. I like playing the more obscure lists or the more sort of quirky ones and that sort of thing, but it does feel incredibly powerful. Ooh, nice as axe. We'll have to have a look at that in a moment. So this player's clearly at least got part way along the season tracks. They've got the gold paints. So what do we want here? Okay, we've got corrosive and stasis. This is absolute the pick here. Stasis buys us a chance to sort of get free damage in. Corrosive is absolutely nuts in this. So we're against a level 20, so very similar to us. Similar amount of play. Green cookie with the gold Zax Jakar. It's beautiful. So they are going for an aggressive deployment. It is Maximus. This is not surprising. So what we do here is, because Maximus can't move too far this direction, and neither can Zax, we're going to place our Cinder Orb about here. But we need to make sure that we're not touching it first. So this comes up when you're touching it, that little pillar, and we just want to be far enough away, there we go, that we're not. And what we can do is move to the point that we're as hidden as possible without touching the Cinder. This means that Maximus can probably get line of sight of us over here, which is absolutely fine, but we're going to be playing, as we said before, our 2 solid ranged units, or we're just going to be playing something else. Ooh, what is this? Disruptor? Yeah. If I were them, I'd be trying to hit the Cinder. I think hitting the Cinder here is absolutely right. Taking me off that Cinder means I've essentially wasted my turn 1 play, and they get to hide again. But if they go right back into one of these little nooks, are they vortexing as well? That I don't agree with. This I think is a bit excessive. Yeah, sure, you can kill my Cinder, but you use 2 assists for it. Now, if they tuck right in here is the issue, because if they tuck right up against it, then they won't leave themselves space to get out. I don't think they have done, which is the correct choice. And then they have played out Deadeye. So they can take a pot shot at us. So this has worked out well for them. This is absolutely what they should be trying to do. So first of all, we've got a 60% shot here, nothing else. We're probably going to have to go on the defensive here. Getting that crit's really nice. So we're going to move into here. We're going to play out Taria Arsenal. And in fact, I think we kind of have to. Yeah. This is, in fact, what we could do. We could also play out, so looking at the angles that they can get, we could also play Rickety Backfire, but that might be something we want to save. I think Taria Arsenal and then having to go for an activation might even be the case. This could be our first loss with this list. I'm prepared to do so. I mean, no list is infallible, and this is a really good start from our opponent. That was a really good Disruptor. I think the Vortex was unnecessary, but Disruptor was absolutely the right call. If they leave something exposed here, and we've got 3 Cinder next turn, we can just play Maximus, play Corrosive, and take out one of their 2 units with an activation of Taria, which is why we played her out in the first place. So it's much more guaranteed. Nothing is ever guaranteed, but it's much more likely than trying to rely on a crit. So if they play defensively and don't come out to get us, we can absolutely just start building up units, building up that critical mass, and using what is in this game the sort of the leverage we have through better units. So yeah, here this Deadeye is probably going to die. I don't know what angles they've got on things here. Hopefully, if they're trying to shoot Taria, they've actually got a pretty low chance of hitting it across the board. Yeah, double miss there is really good for us. So obviously this is fine, but now we've got a very reasonable chance to kill Zax. To kill Maximus. So that is quite likely going to be what we can do, because he deals as much damage as Deadeye and has just as much utility in that hers is range-based. Also, almost like, for some reason, reminds me of Ghostbusters. Maybe because I've just watched Ghostbusters too. But okay, so there's Naria there. I think we need to try and kill Maximus and deal some damage to Aria. So we're going to take some damage on our captain, and we're probably going to lose Taria here. We need to hit both of these. We do. Excellent. We can't actually get line of sight onto Aria very easily, so we should have actually positioned this afterwards. But 50% chance to deal 2 damage isn't bad. Yeah, we missed, but that's okay. And then we're going to play our own Maximus over... Let's play Maximus here, because it means that it's probably only Deadeye unless they do some movement shenanigans that come out at us. So looking at this game, it's quite likely that we're going to be stunning one of their crew rather than a captain, because we want to make sure that we have as many opportunities to damage them and not have them damage us as possible. So we knew Taria would be taking 2 attacks here. This was basically a trade. So we spent our turn in a Cinder. Because our units are so cheap, we can afford to do that more than they can. So looking at their positioning, they've obviously got Disruptor, which they could end up using here, which we'd actually like it if they did. But if they do use it, even if they do, we're going to place our 2 melee units here, and sorry, 2 1-drops here probably, and just try and start taking things out. We could also stun Zax if they do use Disruptor, so they've got no way of using the Gravity Disc. So I actually think this is shaping up to be a very interesting game. We've got a lot of life left. We're not out of this yet. So what are they going to play? So whatever they play here, there's a good chance that this is what we have to end up killing. Oh, they're just going for the Disruptor. Yeah, this is what we want them to do. Because yeah, sure, take 2 damage on Maximus. That's absolutely fine. What's their play? This is the important part. Ooh, Shrapnel. So this is where we start falling apart. So I'm kind of happy to see this, because this is exactly what we struggle against. So it's interesting to see how these things play out. So now I think we might actually be stunning Shrapnel and using Maximus to try and do something a little bit different. So we can't deal with Deadeye yet now. So we're going to come in here and just poke Zax a couple times, which is fine. We're going to stun Shrapnel. We can get a good angle here onto Deadeye. So we're going to be aggressive here because I think it's our only real chance. And then we're going to play Blindsider Eztli here, Drumdancer Tlalli here, and then Antios Gauntlet here. And so we're trying to keep them all as blocked in as possible, and then if we play Maximus back this way, it's very likely that he'll be safe, and they can only take 3 shots on something, so they're likely to be able to kill one of our units, but not necessarily all of them. Next turn, we're either going to do the Rickety Backfire trick with Rickety Backfire and Into the Breach, or we're going to play Amplifier Bitol. See, here we go. This is Axel Pyro. This needs to die. But we could potentially even just kill their Zax this turn. Because as it stands at the moment, we've got access to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17. We've got access to 17 damage, so we could even kill Zax from here if they don't kill anything, which is unbelievably strong. So I think that's going to be what we're going to look at doing, is trying to kill Zax, because we can spend all of our Cinder. Basically, we can use 2 here, 2 here, 1 on anything, just Astra. Yeah, this is fine. I got the 2 here. Now we just need Aria to not move up and get this hit. If they do, this is a whole new game all over again. 70. Yeah, they've got this. There we go. Right, so now what can we do? We can still do 8 here. 9, 10, 11. So if we had Corrosive, we'd actually be in a really good spot here. So let's just... I think our best chance here is to push damage through. So we're going to In-Air Energy, Battle Frenzy here. Going to make them deal with us. So deal 8 damage. We will send Astra's 100% hit over there. I'm going to jump this direction. Now, can we get an unobstructed shot from anywhere over here? Not quite. So we're going to just move to here and see what the percentages are, because we might just be moving back where we came from. So this is 100 or 62. So if we come in here and just get this hit off here, if we get a crit, we're in a good shot. I think we're still going to go for their captain. 1 damage makes a big difference here, because that 1 damage, in fact, if we also put Gross into here, it might incentivize them to... Actually, let's place it here. Try and stop them moving. So next turn, we've got Corrosive, we've got Into the Breach, and we've got a lot of potential damage coming through with Rickety Backfire and Astra. Between the 2 of them should, in theory, be enough just to kill their Zax. We'll let them get the Cinders, what we wanted, just to try and basically stop movement getting better angles on us. So this is a very close game. Very good game, actually. I'm really enjoying this. Thank you, Green Cookie, whoever you are, for this gameplay here. Okay, they got the miss onto Antios. So they're just running for their life. This is probably correct. and disrupting further and further away. Yep, this is all fine. So this isn't good for us, but it's not like this is the end of things. Depending on if they disrupt her away, because if they disrupt her away, we might be in trouble. But if they don't, we're actually almost definitely all right. I think they just killed one of their own units. Or was that one of ours? Oh no, that was ours. Yeah. So they are going to disrupt her away. So again, Astra being able to get in range here means that there is actually a reasonable chance that we can still corrosive and win this here on this turn with Rickety Backfire. So we just go for it. We're going to move over here. Going to corrosive. We might as well hit all three just in case. 70% chance here. We got that. Going to into the breach. Rickety Backfire. Move Rickety over to here. Go for here. The 97% chance. There we go. Excellent. That aggressive finish, taking it out with Rickety Backfire. So that was a really good game. They had almost the optimal start versus us. They managed to take our Cinder away from us. They managed to take out our Taria pretty quickly because we gave it up as a trading unit. But we managed to just basically make the game in balance. They were trying to kill our units. We were trying to kill their captain. And we were already ahead in that front because we had more damage on board to do so. So that was a really, really good game. It's actually probably one of my favourite games I've played in a while because it was something that was quite difficult for us to navigate. We did have to make sure we stunned at the right time. We had to use corrosive properly. We had to position correctly. And all in all, I really enjoyed that. So as it stands, the list is still undefeated. We haven't lost a game with it yet. So for anyone that's wondering, this is the Hyper-Aggro Astra list. It has been very, very successful for me. Hopefully it will be for you too. It's all about getting in the face, dealing lots of damage to units early on until you can just pull that trigger and throw everything you can at your opponent as quickly as possible. If you've enjoyed this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. I really do appreciate it all. I check every single notification. And other than that, have a good day.